What if the most dangerous innovation in the history of organized crime wasn't a weapon or a code, but a two-wheeled machine weaving through traffic? In the 1980s, a specific sound began to haunt the streets of Miami, the high-pitched whine of a motorcycle engine that signaled the arrival of a ghost. This was the era of Griselda Blanco, the Godmother, a woman who didn't just participate in the underworld. She redesigned its mechanics from the ground up. Linked to a wave of motorcycle-based crimes that paralyzed local authorities, her tactics forced a massive, desperate shift in how detective squads operated. But there is a hidden detail in the police files, a specific clue left at every scene that investigators missed for years, and it changes everything we think we know about her downfall. By the end of this investigation, you'll see the one mistake the Godmother made that finally allowed the law to catch up with her shadow. Let's look at the evidence and step back into a decade where the lines between the law and the lawless were blurred by speed and smoke. To understand the 1980s, you have to feel the humidity of a Miami afternoon, a city caught between a glamorous tourism boom and a hidden war. The cultural vibe was one of excess. Neon lights, expensive linen suits, and a pace of life that felt like it was constantly accelerating. But for the detectives on the beat, the city was a labyrinth of narrow alleyways and gridlocked highways where traditional patrol cars were essentially useless. Griselda Blanco looked at this environment not as a resident, but as a master tactician identifying the city's greatest weakness, its own growth. She realized that in a world of heavy traffic, the person who could move between the lanes held the ultimate power over life and death. The key players in the department were still using old-school surveillance techniques, looking for large groups of men in backrooms. They weren't looking for a mother of four who was quietly revolutionizing the hit and run by making it more mobile than ever before. This mattered because it wasn't just crime. It was a psychological takeover of the public space, making everyone feel like they were being watched by someone on a bike. The Godmother's rise wasn't an accident. It was a calculated response to the slow-moving bureaucracy of the era's legal system. As we move into the timeline of the investigation, the files reveal a series of events starting in 1981 that left the DEA and local police in a state of shock. It began with reports of phantom riders, individuals who would appear out of nowhere, finish their objective in seconds, and vanish before a siren could even be heard. Upon closer inspection of these early reports, detectives noticed something strange. The riders weren't just fast. They were incredibly disciplined. These weren't random street racers. They were trained specialists who practiced maneuvers that police motorcycles couldn't even replicate at the time. By mid-1982, the frequency of these motorcycle-based incidents increased by 300%, creating a climate of total uncertainty. The investigation timeline shows a critical turning point when a discarded helmet was found near a major thoroughfare, but it bore no fingerprints or DNA. Instead, it contained a small, tucked-away piece of paper with a series of numbers that looked like a grocery list, but felt like a code. Authorities began to realize they weren't dealing with a gang, but a highly organized corporate structure with the Godmother at the helm. Every bike used was reported stolen just hours before and found submerged in the Everglades just hours after, leaving no forensic trail to follow. The police began to focus on the hidden clues in the logistics. How were these bikes being staged across the city without anyone noticing? They discovered that a network of ordinary-looking residential garages had been rented out by shell companies, serving as pit stops for the riders. This was a detail the public missed. The person living next door could have been housing the very machine used in a high-profile case the night before. The files reveal that Griselda had a specific preference for the color of the bikes, choosing shades that would blend into the gray of the asphalt at dusk. Investigators also found that the riders often wore reversible jackets, allowing them to change their entire physical description in the middle of a chase. As the deep investigation continued, a pattern of decoy riders emerged, where three identical bikes would split in different directions to confuse pursuit. It was a masterclass in diversion, keeping the detectives focused on the machines while the Godmother moved her assets behind the scenes. But as we look closer at the dark psychology of this period, we have to ask, what drives a person to create such a clinical system of chaos? Griselda Blanco's behavior wasn't just about profit. It was about a deep-seated need for control and the thrill of outsmarting a system that had ignored her. Psychologists who have studied her case suggest she suffered from a form of hypervigilance, always expecting betrayal and thus striking first. She viewed the city as a chessboard, and every motorcycle was a piece she could sacrifice to protect her king, or in this case, her crown. This psychological concept of asymmetric warfare explains why she chose motorcycles. She knew she couldn't outgun the government, so she outmaneuvered them. The people she recruited for these roles were often young and felt invisible to society, giving them a sense of purpose and a machine that made them feel powerful. By analyzing her recruitment style, detectives found she wasn't looking for criminals. She was looking for adrenaline junkies who lacked a moral compass. This created a cycle of loyalty that was nearly impossible to break, as her riders felt they were part of an elite, untouchable unit. However, the twist in this case doesn't come from a high-speed chase or a massive shootout, but from the quietest of details. While police were obsessing over the bikes and the speed, they failed to notice the pattern of the silent observer at every single crime scene. Upon closer inspection of archival surveillance footage from different parts of the city, a blue sedan was spotted blocks away from every incident. This wasn't a getaway car. It was the command center, the place where the Godmother herself would sometimes sit and watch her strategies unfold. The irony was that while she used the most modern, fast-paced tactics on the street, she relied on her own eyes to confirm the results. This need to witness the outcome of her plans was her psychological tell, a classic trait of a leader who cannot fully delegate trust. In 1984, the authorities shifted their entire focus away from the motorcycles and toward the slow-moving, unremarkable vehicles that trailed them. This forced a major shift in organized crime investigations, moving from reactive street chases to proactive, long-term surveillance of high-level figures. They realized that the Godmother was the brain, and the motorcycles were merely the hands. To stop the movement, they had to isolate the mind. The investigation finally narrowed down to a single residence in California, far from the neon heat of Miami, where Griselda had retreated. Even in hiding, she couldn't help but maintain the same psychological patterns, surrounding herself with the same loyalty-based security. When the law finally arrived, there was no grand motorcycle chase through the hills of Irvine. There was just a woman reading a book. The lingering mystery remains. How many of her phantom riders are still out there, having vanished into the fabric of society without ever being caught? Some believe the motorcycle tactic didn't disappear, but simply evolved, influencing modern urban crime in ways we still see today. The clues were always there, hidden in plain sight, tucked into the roar of an engine and the silence of a tinted visor. If you look at the map of 1980s Miami today, the scars of that era are still visible in the way the city's security and police corridors are designed. The Godmother's legacy is a chilling reminder that the most effective weapons aren't always the loudest ones, but the ones that can disappear. To mark this piece of evidence in our collective file, make sure to like the video so we know which leads to follow next. What do you think was the most overlooked clue in Griselda's operation? Comment your theory below to help the squad solve the puzzle. To access the next case file and continue the investigation into the world's most baffling mysteries, make sure you are subscribed to the unit. We are constantly scanning the archives for hidden details that the public missed, and we need every detective on the team to stay sharp. Upon closer inspection of our upcoming files, we found a connection between a 1970s cold case and the tactics used in Miami. The deeper you look, the more you realize that no case is ever truly closed. It just waits for the right investigator to look again. The files reveal that even the most meticulous planners leave a trail, whether it's a code in a helmet or a car parked on the wrong street. As we close the Godmother's folder for today, remember that the smallest sound can be the biggest clue in a world of noise. The investigation continues in the next briefing, where we will look at a mystery involving a vanished pilot and a coded radio frequency. Every detail matters, from the color of a motorcycle to the timing of a traffic light. Don't let the trail go cold. Stay tuned for the next update from headquarters. The psychological profile of the Godmother is a warning about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the pursuit of absolute control. By understanding her methods, we understand the evolution of the shadows that police the world. This has been a deep dive into the 1980s. A decade of speed, shadow, and a woman who ruled them both. The detectives of that era learned the hard way that you can't catch what you can't see, and you can't see what you aren't looking for. Keep your eyes open and your ears tuned to the sounds of the street. The next case is already unfolding, and we need you ready to break the code. History is written by the survivors, but the truth is hidden in the cold cases they left behind. We will find that truth, one file at a time, together as a squad. The motorcycle engine has faded, but the mystery of the Godmother's hidden network remains a puzzle for the ages. Are you ready to open the next drawer in the evidence room? Make sure your notifications are on so you don't miss the call to action. The investigation is ongoing. End of briefing.